And now we should actually be live. All right, there you go. Sorry for the delay, people. This episode is brought to you by Stroker Industries, who makes the Trigger, which is a push-button, self-venting fuel control nozzle for your race jug. They also make Spit Shine, which is a spray to shine your bike up and protect it, and also fog out for the inside of your goggles or your truck windshield. Also brought to you by eMOTOcons, Moto emojis for your iPhone. Now let me bring the people on here that are supposed to be. The guests and the co-host, who should already be in session here.
After I was still doing shows and traveling, and so I'd be gone here and there, but like this is probably the first time she's been away from the kids for more than 24 hours, and she's like, I want to call them, and then the kid's like, nah, I don't want to talk.
Yeah, they're just like, yeah, mom's gone, party time.
Oh, there you go.
All right, let me mix up some juices. Hey.
Guess what? We're actually live now. And recording.
Oh, shoot, we're live now. Live and recording. We're back. Oh. Wait, Aladdin's coming back talking.
So we had a I had a hiccup, I guess. I ruined Christmas, everybody. We already been talking since 9 o'clock.
Everybody's just tuning in. We've been talking for a half hour about first evers and
all kinds, yeah. All the good stuff.
Who Wacker is.
Everybody, Nick and I now know who Wacker is and his whole story and everything. So, all right, so we're going to start over, Wacker. Wacker as Modelo.
That was rehearsals.
There you go.
That was that 10-page pre-show prep I was talking about.
Exactly.
We just did it.
Cool, I got that email.
We just went over the email live and took care of it.
Yeah.
So this is Dustin Nowak. You live where? California? Where, California?
Yep, I'm in Santa Clarita, California.
Trailer park.
Which is like northern LA. Definitely in a trailer park. We keep it on wheels. We keep it real.
Do you just live at a motocross track and you're calling it a trailer park, or?
Actually, I wish I could do that. No, it's a legitimate trailer park. Like all my neighbors are on wheels as well, and it's actually next door to the old and legendary Indian Dunes motocross park. All my friends who grew up riding there used to say this. They would come over here and coach the trailer park pool after they would get done doing their motos.
Nice. So the trailer park pool is just dirt filled and brown.
No, it's actually really nice. One of the only reasons I still live here is because the pool and jacuzzi area is key.
He keeps trying to sell it as a trailer park, but then he's got a pool and jacuzzi.
Okay, trailer resort.
There you go.
Yeah, because trailer parks, the trailers don't move. They're just there. Trailer resort, that's some plastic.
Do you have to cover your wheels up or what? Like, do you?
I probably should, but I think where we're at, the trailers are so packed in here. The sun stays off it for the most part. And we every year we take the trailer out once a year, and we take it for a day in the dirt. So it does get moved, but only once.
Is that the legal limit? Like you gotta move it once a year.
Limit, you're supposed to move it like every 90 days or something, but we just pretend we do.
Well,
we don't actually do that.
hate to tell you, but the feds watch this because every time we get political, they shut us down. So somebody's gonna be coming knocking on your trailer door, telling you got to move it.
Cool. I think I'm hoping this is my maybe even my last week here. So,
Just bring up some.
if you want to come kick me out this week, I'm good.
As soon as we get conspiracy theories, we start getting crappy bandwidth. Somebody drops a
They just
call.
start shutting down.
We just joke, but it does seem kind of. It's funny. It's well timed.
Somebody
I
inevitably.
could see that not being so ironic.
Of the 3 people watching, 2 are feds.
Oh.
Who?
It's like the Instagram memes, just straight FBI. We're just gonna start getting random pop-ups. Like, hey, I like it.
Yeah. What is it? They're like, how about the cop the cop post, and he's like, "Hey man, whoever stole that stuff, nice work. I'm not a cop." He's like, "Hit me up. I like to steal stuff too." So how'd you get involved with the Alta deal?
How did I get involved with the Alta deal? That's a really long and funny story. When I first saw him and it first came out, actually, a guy that I knew that I did some dirt rider testing with, I did the 125 shootout. He did some development on it, and I kind of joked around that I wanted to hit ramps on it, and I really wanted to get one to see what it would do and flip it and stuff. And a couple years later, well, I worked at Fast House for a little while. One of their marketing guys hit me up, and we tried to. I tried to make some stuff link up and happen to where I could try to ride one, and it never really worked out. I ended up leaving Fast House just to keep riding, and this year at Day on the Dirt, I was drinking beers and painting helmets in the back of my trailer like I usually do every year at Day on the Dirt, or bikes or whatever I want to paint. And all the Alta guys came over, and I just started kind of having a conversation with them about, the bikes, and I was curious to why no one's flipped one yet, and we got Hill riding straight rhythm on it, and Durham was killing it at Supercross, like doing Supercross testing, and I know Nate's been riding one for a while, and Jimmy Hill mini flipped it. I really just wanted to ride one and flip it, and a couple beers in, and it was like I had a chance to ride one, I'd flip it. And I think a week after, Durham and Tyler Behrman were going to go do a film shoot for him, and he was like, "Guys, dude, I got called to go show him around Finland, and go ride it, and we did it, and they ended up letting me take the bike tomorrow and ride it for a little while. I got the suspension set up for freestyle and hit some ramps on it, and pulled back, and it worked. So,
Just straight to dirt?
Yeah, that's about the only way you could do it.
Yeah.
No, what are you talking about? That's
cool.
people are gonna learn to flip on electric bikes so the exhaust doesn't light the foam on fire.
Yeah, but I mean, foam can just suck, man. Like,
That's
I
true.
don't want to hit those things.
I agree. I mean, once you jumped it, you could probably tell how it was gonna flip.
I mean, I had a feeling it was going to be the same. Like, the bike feels so good in general. It has a way different feel than, like, a regular motorcycle.
It has a
Combustion engine, but at the same time, it feels the same. It feels good, everything works, the power's good. And,
hey, daddy daycare.
I couldn't really see it being
So not having gears, I've heard of people, well, only Todd Potter really, flipping something in second gear and then getting kind of stuck upside down, shifting third, and then revving the hell out of it, and it bring them around extra faster. The fact that you don't have like the gear to rev out, that it'll just continue to pull, does it like pull you around better?
Luckily, I haven't had any flips close called enough to where I have to, start grabbing gears and trying to pull it around.
Yeah.
But I've stalled him out and got on the gas just to do it and see kind of what it would do, and it does have that effect a lot. Like because it has so much torque that when you do gas it, the rear wheel spins so quick that it definitely zips it around pretty fast.
Nice.
And I feel like when you do try to slow it down, it actually has more of an effect too. That's one of the it's almost the benefits of the bike overall. It doesn't have the centrifugal weight of all the engine parts like moving inside. And like I compare it to like those balls that have the weights inside where if you get it spinning or whatever and you throw it, they just like keep going. That's kind of what like a 4-stroke engine or a 2-stroke engine is. You have the crank spinning, you have the piston going up and down, and that bike literally has none of that. So if you try to move it one direction or the next, it doesn't have all that centrifugal force pushing it in whatever direction it's at. So even though the bike's heavier, like when I go to do a whip and you pull it back, it doesn't have that weight still pushing it. Whereas like, all the dudes who do enormous whips, they grab the heck out of it to bring it back, and it's basically all the weight of the wheel spinning is counteracting what the engine's doing and helps do it. So that bike doesn't have that, so the wheel is the only gyro effect that you're getting. So if you stop it, it works more, and if you get it spinning, it does the same thing.
Well, that's been my theory with like say 125 to 250. The bike is not physically that much heavier. It's the fact of, like you said, the gyro effect is more once you get with the bigger flywheels and the bigger engines and stuff. So obviously getting rid of it, I don't know if Jackson Strong does, but I know that Paris Rosen used to shut his engine off and lock both top wheels up to try to do the front flips, for that very reason.
Yeah, I could see it helping in fun in situations like that. I rode it on a track, and I have like a full, super stiff freestyle suspension on it, like setup, and I rode it on a choppy sand track. And normally I'm gonna do a half a lap and just pull off and be over it. It's not worth it. But you can keep the motor works, the way the suspension works, and you still have all that weight doing weird stuff, and all even with a super stiff suspension setup, the thing wasn't harsh. Like it went through super choppy stuff fine. Like there's so many weird variances that you get to that, the transmission and the way that it is spinning around that affects that. You don't get it as bad on the bike that doesn't have that.
Do you?
Still, even though it weighs more than a typical 450, it handles, and you can flip it around like I wouldn't say a 125 because it does have more weight, but between a 125 and like a 250 in the handling department. It's crazy.
It's gonna change everything. It's gonna change suspension. I mean, once you get people racing them, I think it's gonna change the whole way. From what you're saying, it's gonna change it quite a bit.
Does it have traction control?
Not traction control. It has different maps, and map 1 is almost like you would have traction control, but it doesn't have. It's just because it mellows out the hit of the bike so much that it doesn't really break loose. It's awesome. Like when I'm out in the hills, like to go build jumps, and I'm watching people on 450s trying to carry shovels and going up like rocky hills and crazy loose stuff. Like I can just sit there and hold the shovel and just turn the throttle and tractor up it without even thinking, and the bike's not gonna stall. Pretty sweet, and it's never in the wrong gear, and it doesn't bog down. So that makes it real nice. But it's not really like actual traction control. You put that thing in like map 2, which is like a little more aggressive. It's map 2, from what I was told, is comparable to like a stock Ryzen 250U Porsche. And like those are one of the best Porsche 250 engines. And then map 3 is like a full mod 250. Yeah, like that thing. That's what I remember.
I mean, because can they make that map pretty much be whatever they want it to be?
They can do. I mean, it's the power output from the battery to the motor. You can, as far as I know, like I've seen programs like I got super in depth with it, but I'm sure you could get it to do and output the power however you would like it to. But they have it kind of in a similar curve, whereas they also have map 4, which is like no restrictions. It's just straight battery powered motor.
Can you even ride that?
I mean, you can ride it. I've never felt the need for it. Like, if you're trying to go ride it on something technical, the thing just spins out. Like, it's got so much power. Three's good. Three's my all around. If I'm jumping stuff, I want like all the power in the world. Three's done everything I've ever needed to do. But even if I go around a track, I put on 2 because I don't want it to have that much hit.
Really? And then you get more laps out of it then, right?
Yeah, you get the lower the map and the less output you get out of it. Like 4, if you run it on that, the thing's just going to be spinning everywhere. You're just going to keep through the battery. But 3, like if you're riding straight across, you're doing super technical stuff and with throttle response, and you're trying to get over stuff that's do or die. You're going to want it. But for the most part, just track I'm running 2, and everything else, like freestyle or out in the hills, I'm just gonna run 3, just to have that extra hit, make sure I'm running everywhere.
What model are you riding? There's a couple models, right?
They just came out with the 2018 MXR, which is like if you compare it to something, would basically be like the factory edition. It's an upgrade from it. Pretty much everything they had on 17. I'm riding the 17 right now, which is pretty good. That's a new model. It has an all-new battery, basic computer system, suspension. Yeah, it's a good bike. The one I'm riding, I ride it every day, and I'm flipping ramp to ramp and jumping everything in the hills on it. But the new one is real sweet.
I want to ride one. I want to go from just like, because I'm carbureted right now. I just want to go from a carbureted bike to electric and just skip the whole. I never got the fuel. Yeah, I never got a fuel injected bike, so I feel like I just want to skip that.
It's actually really funny because this weekend in Albuquerque is a pretty high altitude city. So even with a fuel injected, just because it's fuel injected doesn't mean that, if you're at a lack of oxygen, the thing's still going to be underpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be properly carbureted, so to speak. But like with electricity, you do not have that issue. Like you could be riding it at 10,000 feet. Like I ride a lot of stuff in Mexico City where you've been at 10,000 feet and up in the mountains and hills there. Dude, I've hit ramps second gear pin on a 450 and it's kind of sketchy.
And the gas sucks down there too.
Yeah, but once you charge it, electricity is electricity, basically.
Yeah, that's awesome. I never thought of that. Unless, what if you go to Mexico and you just get such bad electricity? It just doesn't, it runs like shit.
It takes like 2 days to charge it instead of however long. How long does it take to charge?
I've never really actually timed a full charge at Baltic. Like if I go out in the hills and I'm away from electricity, I'll throw my generator in my van and run it off that. And most of the time you're not running the thing that, running the battery off that bad. So I'll go run like a third of the battery out, trail ride and doing jumps or whatever, come back for lunch, plug it in, and then do it in an hour. It's good. I think a new model with the new charger, like they're saying an hour and a half full charge.
Well, that's not bad at all.
No, and I mean, you're burning a whole battery in that amount of time. If you go to a Moto on the thing, you're only going to burn about a half, so 45 minutes, you're full charge ready to go. And
So
charging a phone.
So if you got a structured practice track that you're going to, where they do A class, B class, vet class minis, you can recharge your bike. You know the amount that you used by your next by your next practice session.
Generally, that's kind of how it was. Like the times that I've taken it to the track, I was able to get motos in on it and do what I wanted to do and be able to recharge it enough to go back. And that's only going to get better.
Yeah.
I was just reading some stuff where they were saying that in some of the tracks around Texas, because down in Houston they have a big, that's like one of the regional
solar.
Areas, they're saying that some of the tracks are actually starting to put in charging stations.
Well, I would just wear solar panel gear, so that way it would charge my bike up while I rode it.
I mean, that would be pretty rad.
Just get to the desert.
Once we can build solar powered graphics and decals, so that
There you
there's
go.
constant charging.
Alright. Hey, let me go put these kids to bed real quick.
Put them to bed.
Alright.
Give them a shot of whiskey.
He goes, this is my bed. Alright. I'll hit you up when I get back on.
Alright.
Alright, hang on. Alright, I'll see you guys in a minute. Good talking.
Perfect. See you in a minute.
The altitude thing is I never thought of that, but it sucks. Like you said, 10,000 feet, because you have to, you can jet the bike like you said, but you're essentially lessening the fuel that you're getting in there because of the amount of less oxygen you're getting in there. So ultimately, you are going to get less power, even if it runs correctly.
Yeah, you can make it run really good. It's just
always going to be down.
Power regardless. So
yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you need the oxygen.
It's the same thing with fuel injection. Just because you have a fuel injected 450, like you go ride it in the highlands of Mexico City where you're at 9,000 foot altitude, like it doesn't matter how crisp the thing is, it's slow.
Yeah, you're still down a couple of horsepower. But also, haven't you noticed in like Colombia, the fuel, the gas that they get is like worse than 87 or whatever our worst stuff is anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of benefits, and that's kind of like, which right now for me, the biggest downfall of the bike is the fact that when I go to places like that, I can't get one. So.
Yeah.
But other than that, because like I haven't had any need to ride any of my other bikes. Like I've been having a blast riding it.
Yeah, I don't have 10 grand or whatever it is, but man, it looks like the ticket, especially, in New Jersey, pretty much unless you go to a track, every place is illegal. That's just what it is. So, I feel like California is the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I even started a bike right now, anywhere near where I'm at, it's there'd be cops here, helicopters, like we're done.
Could you put a plate on that thing?
I don't know if I should publicly speak about exactly all of the dynamics that you can and cannot get away with it, but
well, it's less than 50 cc's.
That is true. I've told there's a gray area there, but because it is a legit like motocross bike, the VIN number apparently will probably depending on what state. The really strict ones like California, it has an off-road VIN number that would not register in their computers as being able to be platable. But I will say, compared to most bikes out there, they do sell a dual sport version that is platable, and the only difference really is soft suspension and an 18-inch rear wheel. So it's not like you're getting any less of a bike for what you got there with just a couple of lights on it.
The maps are the same? Or it's got like sissy maps on it?
Motor. No, it's the same bike. So,
yeah, but
if I were to buy one, I don't think it'd be getting an off-road model. Let's just put it that way.
You don't think you would be getting an off-road model?
Well, no, I'd be getting a dual sport.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just get
all
the
day long.
suspension done. Then you can
Yeah.
go and rip
you're gonna
shit.
get the suspension done anyway, so.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, that seems like the ticket.
And then the possibilities are endless.
Endless.
Well, except for like reckless driving tickets.
Well, of course you can still get crashing into stuff. I mean, I want to make.
It'll save you a lot of other hassle.
Yeah. You could make some like flip levers into mirrors.
I would be lying if I didn't already plan on that.
I actually had that as an idea for I got a CB, and I was going to put all dirt bike like pegs on it. I already got dirt bike handlebars on it. I wanted to put all like Yamaha, like 2-stroke fucking throttle and all that, front caliper and all that shit, and have some flip levers that stuck up that were then mirrors.
Yep. I literally just want to have mirrors that Velcro right over the flip levers.
There you go.
So, just I already have my whole way around all of it.
Dude.
I'm really that's the bike I want to build next.
Yeah.
Full street legal freestyle bike.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I think I would
You can do it.
probably go somewhere in between suspension wise. I don't think I would go full freestyle because I'm not jumping ramps really. So
See, that's the thing is that was like my one concern. But I don't know if you were in there for that part of the conversation, but when I went and rode that bike, the way that the gyro and the engine and everything works, like I rode a full sand track, like choppy, rough sand track with my freestyle setup, and it worked really well. Like it didn't feel like a freestyle setup.
Well, that's why I asked you about the
You don't have a drag.
Well, that's why I was asking you about the traction control thing, because I rode a 17, I think it was 17, maybe it was an 18, KTM, like the factory edition. And the guy who owned it was like 230 pounds. And he kept going, take this bike for a ride, take this bike for a ride, you'll like it. And I said, I already know how it's going to ride. It's going to ride like it's set up for a 230-pound guy. And it's going to be hard as hell. And he's like, still, just take it for a ride. So then I pushed a button and it started. And then he set it on whatever mode 1 or something, traction control. And it was crazy different as far as getting on the gas, like coming out of corners and stuff. It would not get out of line. It just, no matter you buried it, it would just roll the throttle on as hard as it would take it without starting to spin and go sideways. And the thing was hard as hell, and I still rode it because it actually, because of the traction control, it was still like rideable. It wasn't like, same thing like you were saying. It wasn't just bouncing around all over the place. It was crazy.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of similar to that. Just, man, I don't. My explanation of how it works compared to a regular bike is the same, no matter how I tell, whether it's going through corners, jumping ramps, like, it's the same, it's different. It's just not the same. Like, it is the same, but just not quite.
Yeah.
Like, everything just works. Like, kind of the same thing you're saying. Like, it doesn't... The motor makes so much of a difference compared to, like, a combustion engine and the way it flexes and the way it moves. I mean... Think about factory teams, like how much they play with just motor mounts and like how much the motor flex and the torque affects the entire handling of the bike with flex of the frame and everything else. Like there's so much weight just spinning around in there that it just translates to every other part of the bike. And this doesn't really have that. It has,
Yeah.
one motor spinning one gear that outputs it, and it's only going one direction. Like, you don't have it all countering.
Okay. How about now a regular BMX 360 on that?
That is a really good question. Actually, never thought about that.
I mean, here's the thing. It may make a bunch of spins and stuff possible that haven't been possible. TP's 720 thing, the TP 720. I don't know, maybe. I mean, it looks like Clinton Moore's just about got that thing fucking dialed, but you know, whatever. For sake of it, hasn't been landed yet.
That never even clicked into my brain until you mentioned it. But Nick and I were literally just talking about that. Like, I mean, I was doing ramps for whips this weekend, and I don't really do traditional whips that much. Like, it's just never really been my thing. But like, I'll do turn downs or more like BMX style kickouts and just kind of style it. And like, even when I do a big one, and I'm like, oh man, like if I was on a 450, I'd be like, shoot,
Revving the hell out of it.
And back and land it. Like, it's getting kind of touchy. Like, dude, I can pull that thing back so quick and so easy, and it doesn't do anything kind of awkward.
Uh-huh.
You literally just made me think, like, and I even, like, was saying, like, so many guys panic rev the heck out of their bike to bring that back with getting the wheel spinning to kind of counteract all the other weight and motions that are going on. It could completely change the way that, it's like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen as many people try, like, you know, just to do a turn down and keep it going, and the thing just spirals out of control.
Well, I was even think about, you were saying people revving it to bring them back. A lot of people that do really big turn downs rev it into it. They come off of the ramp and get it, you know, lean sideways and then rev the shit out of it just to get into it and then just stay into it as they turn back out of it.
Nah, it's, I never actually thought about that. I'd be really interested to see. I mean, I'm not gonna just send one of those to dirt, but that
yeah, let's see it, man.
Thing that you could see what it. I mean, I've watched Chuck try. Chuck could do full 180 turn downs, and I've watched him. Dude, the thing gets 270 in the bike. The wheels spin out from underneath it.
I had that conversation. I had that conversation with him, and I was like, "Why don't you just do, you know, because the wheels want to straighten itself out." I was like, "Do you think you got to the other side, it would just come back around the other way?" And he was like, "It does not want to come back around the other way." He's like, "For some reason."
I've watched multiple people try it multiple times, and it's. I had a conversation about this same thing with BMX guys, and kind of the same deal. And I never really thought about how much the engine itself would have a factor. I just thought it was kind of the weight of the wheels, which I think makes a big difference too. But after riding a bike that doesn't have that weight going on in the engine, it's definitely a possibility.
I think especially, I mean that, but also the off axis, you know, anything they're like the 720, anything like that that's changing, that's turning like that. I think if you know, it's even the same, you know, when you hold a BMX wheel or whatever with the axle and spin it, and then try to turn it, and the thing's like wants to turn over real weird, you know.
Yeah. No, you get a lot more of that definitely with the Moto wheel, which I always kind of thought was the main thing. But after seeing how much the actual engine, like, you don't think about how much weight in a motor is spinning and how fast it is.
Yeah, and how many things are in there spinning in the same direction.
RPMs.
And
like, you got a clutch spinning one, like, which normally that would counteract it a little bit, and that's why the four strokes have counterbalancers and all that. But still, like, there's a lot of stuff going on in there.
Yeah.
And riding all of them, I can see a really big difference with not having any of that.
The future's now, man. What a time to be alive.
That's crazy. That's why I like riding it. Like, I've always liked to ride stuff, like, you know, do different stuff. Like, I kind of wanted to be on the forefront of, you know, really pushing the four strokes when it got big in freestyle and being one of the first guys to, you know, flip that and ride it consistently. But was what it was. I actually went back to the two-stroke recently and kind of liked it more. I get why people like Taka and Adam and the guys who are really doing it and didn't really want to change.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's still a better freestyle bike. But,
Yeah, I think I didn't do
I mean,
enough flip tricks where it mattered in flips. Well, I didn't do any really, so it was just straight flipping. It's kind of easier. It's at least it's like easier as far as just jumping the ramps, and then if you get stuck upside down a little bit when you rev it, or hit the brakes, it like kind of acts more than I think a two-stroke does.
yeah, it's got. I mean, same as anything, it has its pros and cons. Like, I'll ride both back to back. I'll ride a YZ250 and I'll hop on a 450 and go ride ramps, go do tricks. Like, I'll do it the same day, whatever. And doing that, you can kind of see what works and what doesn't work. And I can I can ride a 252 stroke for 2 weeks, go ride around, do all my tricks, and get on a 450 and go hit a ramp and be like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. They work better. They have so much more technology in them. They handle better. The power's better. They literally do everything better. But for tricks, and I actually like flipping them better too. But for actually doing tricks, you have engine braking, and the bike's constantly moving. It's constantly doing kind of its own thing. It has different drag off the ramp. Like, I can struggle with a trick on a 4-stroke for a year and hop on a 252 stroke and do it the first time like it was like I never
Yeah, they fly a little better. For sure.
They don't move. Like, they move where you want it to move, where the 4-stroke, I guess the way I could put it is doing tricks on a 4-stroke's almost like doing tricks off of a dirt hit compared to a ramp. You have to wait for the suspension to unload, because it's always kind of inconsistent. You have to wait a half a second, settle the bike to where you want it, then do the trick. Whereas a ramp, you always have that consistent pop, and you know exactly where you can jump. Like, that's what it is to me. Like, you have to you can do everything on a 4-stroke. It's just, honestly, trick-wise, it's easier on a 2-stroke.
Yeah.
You put the bike where you want, you do your trick, you come back, you put the bike where you want. On a 4-stroke, the bike comes off the ramp, like, you put it where you want, and even if it comes off like this, by the time you do your trick, no matter what you do, the bike goes like this.
You gotta turn your idle up.
It has.
Then
you can have that thing revved out.
Then it doesn't want to stop. Well, you can set them so high that it just fucking it boners on you.
Yeah, then you ride around, you do 2 laps around of an arena, and you're
overheating.
Antifreeze is pissing out the side because the thing's overheated.
It's harder to stop too.
2 miles an hour the whole time.
It's harder to stop, especially if your clutch drags.
It's just, I mean, it is what it is. Like, I'm not saying that it's impossible to do freestyle on 4-stroke. I did it for years and didn't really have problems with it, but I built a 2-stroke to go do some overseas shows and just to have one. And after I rode it a couple times, I was just like, I didn't want to go back to my 4-stroke. I just sold them all and kept riding the 2-stroke and let it be. And I've been on that I think for the last year and a half, and then, the electric bike came along, and same as the 4-stroke when it came along. I was like, oh, fuel injected 4-stroke, give it a shot, see what happens. And now it's just a different era and a different thing, but I mean, I haven't had any issues with anything. It doesn't have that same engine braking. It doesn't kind of have that same peculiarness in the air. Just
when you let off the throttle, it just freewheels.
Yeah, it'll definitely freewheel for a bit. The only thing is that I do notice in that aspect is if you brake tap and it doesn't freewheel, the wheel stops. Like we were saying, the wheels have so much more of a dynamic to it than a normal bike because it doesn't have the engine kind of counteracting it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you lock it up and the thing dead weights, to me it feels like it drops a little bit more. But same thing, as soon as you hit the throttle and spin it real quick, it just instantly stops it because it's there. Like it's not like it can't stall, so you just turn the throttle.
Right.
Like it's
That's
like
it.
I mean it's such a it's
Is your dog
it's so
chewing a
different.
bone at your
Yeah,
feet?
can you tell?
I can hear it. Yeah.
He's just sitting. He's just sitting over here like, hey dude, play with me. Like here's my bone.
Yeah. um, I always tell the story. Javier likes to give me a hard time about the time that he did Speed and Style, and I like slept in the chair in the pits at X Games. But what he doesn't like to say is that he called me at 7 in the morning and was like, "Hey, we need to be to the arena in 45 minutes," and you and I had went out until like 3 or 4 in the morning and gotten some ratty hotel.
That'll happen.
I slept for like 2 hours, 3 hours, and he after many drinks, and next thing you know, he's like, "Hey, they called me about I'm doing Speed and Style. We got to be there in 40 minutes." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't know if somebody backed out or what happened." He's like, "Yeah, we got to be there. Can you be there?" And I was like, "I'll be there." So literally in between all of his runs, I just slept in the chair in our pit area.
Luckily that ratty hotel was like a half a block from the Staples Center.
Yeah, no, you knew it, and you were like, "Listen, it's cheap, but it's not like that bad, and it's close." I believe you were like, we were just out like roaming around, and you're like, "Don't worry, I know a hotel that's close and cheap for here, and it's not even that bad." And I was like, "All right, I trust you. Let's do it."
Ironically, I was in downtown LA like probably 2 weeks ago, and one of my good friends lives like 1 block from that hotel. And we were talking about that hotel and how when you walk into it, it feels like you're walking into like the scene of an old horror movie. Like just because it's like, I mean, it's nice, but it was like that 1920s like weird eclectic nice. Like,
Yeah.
but you're like, it didn't really fit into the time period or what you're doing. You're like, I'm in downtown LA. Like, how come this weird hotel's here from the 20s?
That was probably the shit back then.
Dude, back then, yeah, that thing was a skyrise back then.
Yeah. Yeah, I only spent a couple of hours there intoxicated, so I don't really even remember. I believe that was after that NoHo party. Is that stuff even around anymore?
Oh man, I think it is. I've seen it here and there. I don't know if it worked too well.
I don't. I don't think it worked. I had a horrible. I tell you what, we drank them all night in between shots, and I still had a
I
headache.
tried my ass off to see if it was going to help me not drink better, and I was definitely hungover. I can say that now that none of my friends work there anymore.
Yeah, they're like, all these vitamins. I'm like, you need to put more in there or something, cause shit.
This is not a good hangover.
This is a horrible hangover. You know why? Because I drank extra because I had NoHo, and I thought for sure I was gonna be in the clear. I was like, man, we can go fucking crazy wild here. I've been drinking all these drinks. I'm gonna feel great.
You were sleeping in a chair
I don't.
between two Motos.
Yeah. There's a picture. I think Javier has a picture of me just laying in the chair, just against the wall.
Yeah.
Bastard.
Been there.
Yeah.
Been there, done that.
Thank God, thank God he's the responsible one, because if I was riding there and I didn't think I had anything else to do, I for sure would have done the same thing. And then they would have called me at 5 in the morning or whatever it was. And I'd have been like, yeah, I can come down and ride Speed and Style.
Well, that would have been one hell of a Speed and Style event.
With neither Speed nor Style.
Oh, come on. Not with that kind of confidence.
I believe that, I think we've talked about it on here before, you backed out of a show because you jumped the ramp, or you didn't even jump the ramp. You were just like, I'm too hungover.
I think one. I would say it's happened to me one time.
Once.
I did try jumping the ring.
That's all I heard at a circus.
Mm-hmm.
It'll happen.
I jumped in once, and I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm good. I am not riding any longer."
Dude, we did which circuses were the worst because those guys just live on there, and then like if you haven't been around for a while and then you show back up, especially the elephant trainers, they like to get you really drunk. So was it an elephant trainer? Did you get drunk with the elephant guys? Yeah, it was. They like to drink. And
Yeah, I was in San Antonio. I want to definitely say it was Billy.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, Billy did it to me before too.
Yeah.
With the stagger bombs. We used to do Jaeger bombs with a red stag. Yeah. And we were in Wisconsin, and I hadn't seen him in a while. We go out and drink with him, and then we go to the show. The next day we're at the show, and we didn't, ride until the very finale, so we showed up at like intermission or whatever. And I'm sitting there. The cats are like at our autograph table because we were trying to sell shirts. And the cats are like 25 feet to the left of me. So they're squirting cat piss all over the place. And when I say cats, I mean like tigers. So they're shooting big amounts of...
I mean, I know what you're talking about.
I know. Well, I'm giving this background for everybody else.
The general public, if anyone's listening, we're talking cats. We're talking like 600 to 700 pound tigers, lagers, lions.
Who, by the way, spray rancid smelling urine out of this gland, right, like, I'm not sure, it's like right below their ass, right? They just have this gland that shoots rancid urine out of it. And
no, it's not even urine. It's just their like pheromones that they tag up with.
Perfect. And it will shoot like 20 feet, at least.
No, I know. I've been squirted before. I know. I walked past the tigers today, or not today, this weekend, and people were like, "Oh, they're so pretty," and I'm like,
watch it when they turn around.
Do not stand behind like face the thing, like look at it in the face. But if that thing turns around, move.
I tell people that all the time.
You're gonna have a real bad day.
Yeah, I'm like, if they spin around, be watching, cause they're gonna spray something. So anyway, we're sitting there. They're spraying. There's stuff on the table or whatever, so it smells like gigantic cat piss. And then I got kids keep coming up to me and they're asking stupid ass questions, and I'm just like, as they ask me the stupider questions, as like the questions get stupider, I get more sick, and I'm just like, this. I just turned to Dan and I'm like, I gotta go. So I just went to ran back down to the locker room and vomited. And then come back out, and they're doing the second half. And I'm in the back of the landing using the spare tire as my pillow. And Israel comes over, and he's like, "Hey, aren't you going to warm up?" And I was like, "I'm saving my energy. Just let me nap in here." I did some where... I basically couldn't do any tricks, and then my last jump, I'm like, well, I guess we got to flip here. So I just rode at the ramp, and I'm like, please, muscle memory, don't fail me now. And just pull, and I'm like in the air upside down. I'm like, oh, shit, we're good. We're about to grease it.
Luckily, flipping's the easy part.
Yeah. Just pull.
Usually, I mean,
just stare really hard at the ramp and pull at the right time. As long as you don't have to do anything else.
Yeah, it takes a lot more effort to like jump off your bike and do tricks than just to ride off of it and lean back.
Well, that's what people, they're like, oh, flipping is hard. And I'm like, it's just scary and awkward unless you've been flipping for a long time. I'm like, but fucking double grab is way more technical than a backflip is, because you gotta like move your hands all the way back, and then you gotta like get yourself back onto the motorcycle. And I'm like, to just flip, you just, like you said, at the right time, you lean back, give her a little tug, maybe rev it if you gotta, tap your brake.
Yep, I agree 100%. Like I had to do an extra jump on one of our shows this weekend, and I was like, I'll do a double grab, and I was like, wait, I haven't done that many double grabs on the old Alta. Like, there's a real good chance I'm gonna mess that up right now. Like, I'd rather just flip. I don't
I
really have much room for error on the flipping side, and I'm pretty confident. Like when I ride off the ramp, I'm gonna land on my wheels. But like,
you got a
I
pretty
wanna
good.
mess up a double grab right now.
You have a good amount of degrees actually, if you look at it. You know, from like not quite vertical up and down to like not quite vertical up and down the other way. I feel like you could get
Oh yeah,
squirrely.
there's a real big room for air there.
There's a lot of error in there. There's a lot of degrees that you can be kind of messed up in and still land and ride it out. I think
It's literally almost. It's like literally from there to like.
exactly from a little bit further, I'm going to say almost 180 degrees. From pretty much
Close.
vertical to vertical, almost.
Looping out's way worse than endoing though, because endoing you have the momentum. Like you can land like this, but your momentum's already bringing you this way. So as long as you just don't hit the wheel and tuck, like you're gonna pretty much ride it out from
Right.
like, straight up and down. But once you get to there, your momentum's already going the wrong direction way too fast, and you're pretty much SOL.
And you got to
So it's like
ride. No, that's when you ride your back brake. And then when your back tire hits, it then just whips your ass forward. And you land on your ass at the same time and jam your back in. And then it just smashes your front wheel into the ground.
see, my problem is my shoulders are so weak that at that point they just both dislocate, and I'm done. Because my wrists and hands, like I got a lot of like forearm and hand and wrist strain. Like they'll hold on, but the rest of my body will go and it'll just rip my shoulders out.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's like I've over rotated enough to where if there's a jump or ramp or anything that scares me, like I will under pull on purpose so that I don't over rotate.
That's what Javier said too. He's like, I said, this is when I first started flipping. I was like, how do you flip different ramps? He goes, I jump it a couple times and then I aim to under pull it.
Generally, that's usually a pretty good thing because like almost every ramp flips you faster than you want to flip. So if you just ride off of it, like your bike naturally wants to rotate a flip. Like you have to try, like in order to like do a half flip, like you have to really mess up.
Yeah, pull super early.
Like I've literally ridden off of ramps without pulling or doing anything, and been all, oh shoot, I should have pulled, and like just leaned back a little more, gave it like one rev, and landed perfect. Sometimes even have to brake tap.
Yeah, I've seen some people do that.
Or you pull too early, and you G out so hard at the top of the ramp that you either blow a hand off,
Yeah.
or you just get stuck.
Or
upside down.
your suspension fights you as it rebounds off so hard that you're just like,
yeah, then you're screwed. Like, but even then, like, if you just don't panic super bad, you can generally just, if you arch your back and just rev it, the thing ain't coming around. But if you just give it a good tug of the bars and gas it, you're getting it most of the way around for sure.
get as small as possible, as Javier would say.
Mm-hmm.
He likes.
Yeah,
He says instead of like stand up, tuck. He's like he gets big or gets small. It's basically like in my head,
Small, it rotates faster.
right? But in my head, I see him going off and over rotating and eating one of those mushrooms in Super Mario and be like and getting bigger and then slowing the flip down.
Push out.
Yeah.
That's what Metzger used to tell me back in the day. It's like when you think about it, it's almost counterintuitive. You're like, oh man, I want to like, slow this thing down, and everyone just like skids over the front of the bike and is trying to push it. literally all that does is speed your flip up. Like you literally just want to push the bars away from you and just
and your feet.
get big and like you open up and it slows everything down.
Yeah.
But generally, if I'm in that position, I'm usually already panicking so bad I've hit the brake 17 times. As Dustin Miller says, like I'm killing spiders. I'm just stomping. And if you're that panicked, there's nothing. You're SOL. There's nothing you're doing to slow anything down.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't realize that you overpulled that hard within the first 20 feet off of the ramp, you're done. Yeah. If while you're pulling you don't realize that you've overpulled that hard, you're never going to slow it down.
There's some deceptively smooth ramps though that will spin you a lot faster than you think, especially if you don't overpull. Like it's like if you flip 75 all the time and you go to flip a kicker, you could literally not even think you pulled and still do a double flip. Like,
dude, when I learned to flip, originally I had my finger on the clutch and I was engaging my clutch. So I got to a point where I could, like going off of the face of the ramp, I could wrap the throttle out and pull as hard as I could and I would just barely grease it. And then I crashed, whatever, I stopped flipping. I went back to Travis's house. I was going to flip like 3 or 4 into the pit, go right to dirt. And he's like, is your clutch slipping? And I said, no. He goes, could you be engaging your clutch? So then he said, he goes, go around, do exactly what you just did with your finger off the clutch. And I did 1.5. So then it took me like the next 6 months to convince myself that I didn't have to pull that hard. But I lost, actually this was before that. I lost how to actually pull. And I went to Chuck's house. He had a super kicker, which I'd never flipped before. So I literally got into flip position. I just got myself back like you would manual a bicycle or whatever. And rode off of the ramp in that position. And it would almost completely flip. Like if I went to dirt, I would have been probably vertical up and down on my front wheel. But that's without transferring weight at all. That's just being laid back and having pressure in my hands as I rode through the ramp.
No, that's my whole theory is, and it's always kind of been this way I learned to flip BMX like a long time before I ever flipped Moto. Like I flipped a dirt on BMX for a good solid year before I ever even like kind of thought that freestyle was even in my like grasp. And so I learned to flip without power. I learned how to like slow it down. I learned how to flip different ramps, push through it, pull through it, and I think that really helped me out. Like definitely in the long run of actually like flipping Moto because I had different scenarios before I kind of got there. And same thing, like when I think about flipping a ramp, like dude, flipping a dirt bike for me. And like I grew up riding BMX, like that was my whole deal. Like, and flipping a ramp on a dirt bike is 100 times easier than flipping a BMX bike. And like, I'm way better. I was always way better on a BMX bike than I ever was on a dirt bike. But you think of the ramp, you think of the power, you think what a bike wants to do. If you take a screenshot of someone hitting a ramp to do like a grab trick, all of your weights, your head's over your front fender going off the top of the ramp. Like you're counteracting the bike naturally wanting to flip. Like you gas it on a ramp, if you don't lean forward, the thing is just gonna flip.
I've told people it takes less, and this may be where you're going. I said it takes less body force to get a motorcycle to flip than it does to get it to jump and actually bring the nose down and land, like at the same angle as the ramp versus getting it to flip.
100%.
Because
that's literally what I was saying. It's like and the amount that the difference is so subtle that like I would do this my flip school is really really bad.
What is a flip school?
I compare it to the surfing teacher on Forgetting Sarah Marshall, where he tries to tell him, "Oh, you're doing too much. Oh, you're not doing enough." Like You know, they're standing on the beach and he's making them stand up
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the surfboard. It's literally, that's how you flip a dirt bike. Like, you can very, very easily do too much, but at the same time, you're not supposed to do anything.
yeah.
Like, because the harder you try, literally the worse it goes. You're going to
Oh,
pull too
yeah.
early, and it's not going to work, or you're going to do nothing at all. Like, if you ride off the ramp, it's not going to work either. But if you just ride off the ramp in the right body position, the bike just does a flip on its own,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. And like that's how I taught myself how to flip. Is like I don't pull, I don't lean back, I don't look. Like I just stay in a very just neutral position and let the power of the bike and the throttle just make me do a flip.
You kind of let the bike, you let the bike kind of like come out from under you a little bit into the ramp.
Not even come out from under me. Like I like to stay in the same position, but I like to like ramps go like this. It's naturally the power of the bike. It naturally flips. So if you just hold onto the bike and gas it off the ramp, like how you normally jump, without leaning forward to counter it to do that.
Right. How you would ride down a straightaway.
Yeah, it literally like I have pictures. I'll do screenshots of me doing a double grab and me doing a flip. And when my suspension's compressed on the ramp, my body position from the last 3 feet, the only thing that changes is on a double grab, you see me, my head go towards the fender. Otherwise, it just stays in the exact same position. Like it's pretty crazy. Like because I've watched certain people flip, like people that flip, like, dude, I've seen people sitting on their rear fender bent down, like, just, you know, you watch people flip, dude, you're like, especially when I was learning, like, I'm almost coming up on the 15th anniversary of, like, the first time I ever flipped a ramp. And
oh, yeah?
That's way too long, for one. But...
You had to have been early.
Back then, I remember watching people flip, though, like, then, and just see how hard they were trying, and I'm like, dude, they make it look scary. I was like, I don't think it's that bad. But just have to, like, I can't watch people do other stuff. I just have to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like watching people hit jumps. I'd rather just hit it first. Or
It depends on who they are. If it was somebody like you, I would totally be like, sweet, Wacker's going to jump it first. Or Chuck. Well, sometimes Chuck will get excited and do something crazy, but you know what I mean? I would totally, yeah.
Yeah, no, like, dude, I lived my life following Chuck off. Like, I learned freestyle following Chuck off his stuff.
Yo, I went and rode Bakersfield with him, and he's just like, hey, follow me out here. And we were with like Scranny and those guys. And once he started taking us out there, he turns to me, he goes, okay, the first part of this place has a bunch of little jumps. He's like, it's really fun to warm up on, blah, blah, blah. I already knew he was just going to jump everything without looking at it because he had already ridden there. So I literally just got like 8 feet off of his back wheel and just followed him off of every jump because I'm like, otherwise, I know how Chuck is. He looks at something once, jumps it, and then fucking moves on. And I'm like, if I don't just follow him super close and just jump everything as he jumps it, like, he's not going to give me another chance to follow him off anything. So I just literally stayed right behind him and just tried to go the same pace. If I heard him get on the gas, I got on the gas. And that's what I did all day long. The bigger ones, he would, like the dog pisser and stuff, he would ride by him once and then turn around and hit it. So I would just like, by the end of the day, I was exhausted just from being nervous so many times following him off shit I didn't know.
Just having to follow him.
Yeah, just like stuff I'd never seen before. And I'm just like, okay, I trust Chuck. I know he's going the right speed here.
Dude, I remember like I went to Beaumont with Chuck when I was like 16, and we had a bunch of the Aussie dudes flew over and were like staying in SoCal, and I went and stayed down at his house, and he'd just broken his leg, so he's got his leg in his cast, and he's riding around on my 125, just trail riding with a cast on to show us where all the jumps are in Doma. And like, I can't remember. I think I was still. He was letting me ride his 252 stroke because I didn't even have one. And we're just going out to jumps, and he would just be like, Wacker, all right, this one, he's like, just roll into it, third gear, whatever, click fourth gear, pin it at this whoop, and you're good. And I'm like, dude, I'm 16 years old. This is like my first time ever even riding a 252 stroke. I was like, all right. And every single jump I hit how he told me to, dude, and like greased everything. Like, just got to the point where it's like, if whatever he says goes, like, timing was always, like, he could literally just look at a whoop with a cast on and tell me how to jump a thing, and as long as I did what he said, like, it was always money.
You know what? He may have not known, and it may have just been you, doing it on your own, but he sounds really confident when he tells you stuff.
Yeah, but that's exactly what he would do. He'd
Yeah, but I've seen him miss shit.
Yeah, I've seen him. Well, dude.
Only a couple times. I'm gonna
give them 99 percentile there, though. Like, but when he misses it, it's when he gets excited, like you were saying. It's not the fact that he can't do it. Like, dude, his timing was pretty. Like, dude, I've watched him go out to. He always wanted to be the first one on the Dude Tour course when like other people wanted to go.
I was there for one.
Dude, did you the one he did? Every jump, 0 runs in 1 lap.
So I was there for, and he was
did the entire thing
practice partners with Brody. He was practice partners with Brody. Is that where he missed the landing on that like 96-foot dirt hit the first time, like off to the side, and like he landed to the side of the landing, and it goes.
That was Cleveland or something. That was the next month, the next event.
Yeah.
But the one before that, he went out first and greased everything. Didn't even look at it. Went out, rode out, and just jumped everything in 1 lap. Perfect.
Well, in Cleveland, he rode past everything. We were pulling pins to see what order we practiced in, and he just goes, I want to be first. And everybody turns around. They're like, okay, go ahead. And he's with Brody, and he looks over, and he's just like, Brody, you okay with that? And Brody just goes, okay. So that was it. So there's this like 96-foot double dirt to dirt hit. Now
he transferred to the side of the landing.
Now, if anybody's ever, I'm sure most people have not been on the floor to look at a Dude Tour course, but let me tell you, those dirt hits were fucking intense. Like 10 foot of tranny at the bottom, maybe. And then just straight. Dude, the bottom. We showed up to one of them, and I'm just like, I'm pretty sure you can't make that jump. Like, it's too much G at the bottom. And they're like, a bunch of us were saying that, but we were in the whatever, the nobody practice, and they're like, yeah, blah, 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 blah. And then they make us practice on it. I was like, I'm not jumping that fucking thing. And then Nate and Twitch show up, and they're just like, hey, they start asking them questions, and they go, there's no transition at the bottom of this. And they went out and fixed it after we had already practiced. I was like, and they hadn't even ridden it yet. They were just like, oh, we better fix this. I was like, I told you guys that like 5 hours ago. I could tell that was way too tight. But they didn't want to listen to us. Yeah. So anyway, Chuck, the takeoff wasn't exactly pointed at the landing. It was like off a little bit. And sure enough, Chuck just turns and rips it, lands all the way to the side of the landing, caught the landing at least, G's into the bottom so hard, he just got spit off of his bike. I remember he slid on his face or whatever, and he stands up and he turns around, and do you remember this? And his visor's just pressed down as far as it'll go. And he just goes and shrugs his shoulders and hits his visor back up, picks his bike back up, starts it, and turns around and just blasts it again and lands it perfect.
That's
standard Chuck.
God bless him.
That's
I like it.
I was
Maybe
just like,
that was one of Taka's first events, and I think Taka had a real close call on that thing. He either decked it, and like,
and
if we're talking about the same jump,
yeah, the big 96 footer coming back like at us.
like back towards the pits, back
Yeah,
towards rolling.
yeah, exactly. So you had the like the two in the row were going away from us, and then that was more to the right, and then the big dirt hit was like to the left side of the course coming back at us. And
If
didn't
we're talking about the same event,
I'm pretty
I went to a
sure.
lot of them.
No, it was
Oh
Cleveland.
no, because Chuck. Yeah, I was hurt, so I was a judge that year, so I didn't get to ride that one. I judged that one, so yeah. When the year that Chuck rode, I judged.
And then Ox landed like off of one of the ramp hits and went whiskey throttle into a fence.
Yeah, that one took out a lot of people.
It was windy as shit.
Yeah, that was pretty standard.
I just rode the qualifier though, and I didn't make it. So then that was it. Then I just partied. Did you go to Travis's? No, that was Baltimore. We went to Travis's and partied the one night. I don't feel like you were there.
That one, but not at the party. I went the next day.
What, to Travis's?
Yeah, I was at that event.
You should have been at the party. Me and Jack Rowe played beer pong against Travis and Scheckler. And Jack Rowe wanted to beat up Scheckler.
I was actually trying to compete at that one, I think, at that point.
This was after
Right,
the... I want to say this was after... Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I just didn't qualify, so then it didn't matter. So then I just went to the party.
I didn't qualify either. That was literally the event that I retired from my contest life. I rode practice, and that course was so terrible. I rode off of it, and they're like, "Hey, you're third up for qualifying," and I was like, "Absolutely not." I loaded my bike up. I was like, "If you guys can't find me, I am gonna be at the bar." Like, it was the worst course. I got a flat tire in practice. Like, I was the last to go out for practice, and there was just square edges going up to because they put expanded metal 10 feet before the ramps, and there was such bad square edge going up to the ramps.
Well, where it hit the expanded.
Expanded metal off the first ramp, landed. There's a 90-foot dirt hit up after it.
Yeah.
So I get a pinch flat that I don't know about, land, go to hit a 90-foot dirt hit after the fact. The thing just buckles on the ramp, sends me sideways and short, and I go to hit the next ramp, come out of the corner, and I'm like, oh, well, that probably explains why I couldn't make it through that section.
Yeah, no, I do remember that now that you say that.
Yeah, I literally rode off the course, and I was like, I'm done with Dew Tour. I got a show in Europe, and they're gonna pay me more to go do KOD flips there than if I get third here. So, peace out.
Yeah, that shit was gnarly.
Yeah, I was like, I was just doing simple math in my head. I'm all cool. I can literally go out and possibly kill myself. If I put the run in that I'm supposed to, I'll make the final. If I get top 8, which is probably what I'm gunning for with the crowd that was there, I'll make $1,500. And I was like, is that really worth it?
Sick.
Nah, sweet. No, it's not.
Was that the one I seen one where you were on TV going, I don't think it's worth it, and then Metz goes out and fucking, I don't think that was, that was a Dew Tour.
No, that was Dew Tour. That was the year before that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think it was that
the
year.
year before, yeah. No, the next year. Well, that was 2 years before. That was the first year of Dew Tour. That was I don't know. I'd made all the finals and was pretty much kind of in that realm of just outside the top 5, but in the top 10, and they're like, hey, it's really windy, and I was like, yeah, it's really windy. I'm actually not gonna go ride this, and they're like, it's live TV on NBC. They're like, well, your window's closed. I'm like, no, I really cool. You guys can sit here and tell me I'm gonna go ride. I'm not going to go ride right now. And then they started doing the countdown for live TV for me to drop in. And on the other side of the course, they had the I don't even remember what it's called anymore, but it's like where like all the fan zone or whatever with all the vendors and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like 3 easy ups came over, like ripped out of the ground from the fan zone, took out the fence barrier for the course, took out like half the banners and the fence, and went ripping and flying and tumbling over the course. Like as I'm getting ready to drop in, and they're telling me I have to go, or else I'm gonna lose my run. And I was just sitting there watching it and laughing. I was like, dude, I already made the finals. Like, this is better than I thought I was even going to do. So, if you guys are going to clip me here, I'll take my 10th place. I'll go home. And that stuff happened, and it ended up going to like a 4-hour wind delay. I was like, do you guys believe me now that it's too windy? I literally just watched like a 40-foot easy up go flying across the course. Do you want me to go jump?
So was that then or after the 4-hour wind delay Metzger went out and rode?
I think he was right. This was, I don't know. He might have been the first one out after the wind delay. Because him and I were like qualified right back to back. And I remember he came up after the fact. He was like, dude, he went for it on his second run. Because I beat him in the first one. And like the first flips I ever landed, like we're at his house. And like he helped me in the phone pick. He's like, dude. He's like, I was so pissed when you beat me. He's like, he just went out and started flipping like everything.
Yeah.
He's like,
and when
he's like, there's no way, like Wacker, like I pretty much taught you how to flip. You learned to flip at my house. You're not beating me.
And then didn't he do his whole run and flip everything like you said, and then continue to ride way past the buzzer, and then do like some whip flip thing, and then just deck the shit out of it and crashed his ass off.
That's pretty standard Mets, though.
I'm pretty sure that I just watched that not too long ago, and like somewhere it's on YouTube somewhere, and they just come up to you and you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna ride, it's too windy. And then they just show Metzger out there just flipping every jump that he could fucking find, and then they're like, the buzzer goes off and he's just still doing whip and this and that, and then he flips this dirt hit whip flip thing, decks the top of it, gets whipped back the other way from the top of the landing all the way to the bottom, just sideways, just bam on the ground. I was
there
like,
was setup jumps on that course like that weren't even like made for doing tricks. They were like just little like popper like 40-foot dirt hits into other jumps, and he was just flipping those. Like just because. And I think that's one of the ones that I think he did that on. Like he did it in his run and then he did it again. But that was standard Mets. He did that at Gravity Games. Like I think he just got like a silver medal at Gravity Games or something. Remember back in the day, like
when he went to do that whip thing, hip thing.
Yeah, and just literally just rides off the side of a cliff and just falls like 40 feet and like breaks his leg and pelvis and all a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
It was like 30 seconds after his run.
Yeah.
He was just out there just jumping off stuff for no reason.
Yeah. And then eventually just tries something that shouldn't, that it's just like didn't make any sense, and then hurts himself.
Yeah. We had a conversation about that. He's just like, I just get so amped. He's like, I just don't know what to do anymore. Like, no, I could see that.
Just pack it in, man, and go go have a beer or something.
That's that same energy that gets you to that level, though. You don't know when to pack it in, and
yeah, it's true.
But sometimes it bites you.
Yeah.
It's always those ones like sending it. If you don't have that energy, you never can make it that far.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. What's he got now?
So tattooing, man. He's an artist.
No, I'm talking about your dog.
Oh, my dog? My dog ain't got shit. I thought you were talking about Metzger.
I was hearing
I'm
noise.
sitting here staring at the.
It sounded like he's got plastic or something he's chewing up.
No, that's the lady making tacos, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say the dog's actually being really good. He's just sitting there being really good because he's staring at tacos.
Oh, he's waiting for cheese or anything to fall on the floor.
Dude, literally, he's just staring at the counter, waiting for something to fall on the floor.
I'm pretty sure just smells hit the floor here, and the dogs lick the floor for like the next 10 minutes. Yeah, because I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't drop anything just now. I don't know why you guys are licking the floor here. But they can tell. They know.
What was your? It's been a few years. What was your little dog's name?
Stella?
Do you have the Stella?
Yeah, blue healer.
Blue healer. Yeah, I remember that dog.
Yeah. She's a drive me nuts with the ball normally all day, so still.
I've been trying to hide my dog toys. He's just been sitting here staring at me with them. Why are you sitting here not playing with me?
Yeah. My dog will let me stay on the computer and do stuff for a certain amount of time, and then she starts like growling at me and stuff and barking at me and trying to bite my feet. Like, enough, let's go.
Yeah, what are you just sitting there doing? Because it's time to play.
Yeah, this is unimportant. You need to throw the ball for me.
Right. Just comes, sets it up in my lap, just like, or just sits there and licks my hand. It's like, time to go, dude.
My dog knows, from like
Wow.
locker rooms and stuff. She knows that if she puts the ball like in, like in your bag or in your lap, like in some place that's kind of inconvenient for you, that you'll get rid of it. Like Jason Rowe, he doesn't want the slobbery ball in his bag touching his gear or whatever. So she would constantly just drop it in there in the locker room because he's like, get this thing out of here and throw it. And she's like,
Yeah.
yay, threw the ball.
I
So,
knew you were gonna throw it.
yeah, so she'd just come and drop it in everyone's gear bag. Shit.
That's pretty much. My dog has a weird thing. Like the shoes will be sitting on the floor, and he won't chew the shoes, but he'll take his toys and he'll chew it on the shoes.
Yeah.
Like puts his hands like this, puts the toy there, and just chews it on the shoe.
Yeah, because he's getting the scent.
Just puts his toy.
He knows he'll get in trouble, so he's getting the scent of the shoe and the chewing satisfaction. My dog will hold the ball and bite on it and smash it into the back of my legs. Or if I'm on a dirt bike or something or a bicycle, she'll chew on it and smash it into the tires, so that way she's like, can pretend like she's biting the tires, but she won't get in trouble for it. So she's like,
yes.
yeah, win-win.
Oh man, freaking crazy animals.
Do you have more circuses coming up?
I don't know. This was just like a last minute kind of fill-in. Didn't even know I was actually going to do a circus. I just got called to go do a show and said yes, which I normally do.
Yeah, that's what
I don't usually like to ask. I don't usually like to ask too many questions.
we'd call people and they'd be like, what bend ramp is it? What type of show is it? Da 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 da. And I'm like, I never used to ask any of that. They'd be like, hey, I got a show. However much. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah, the less I know, the better. Like, I think that's just all my time in Mexico and South America and everything else. It's just like, what day is it? Like, when's my flight?
You just learn to be calm as well because they like to procrastinate on like setting up. They're just like, it's
I
okay.
just go with the flow.
It's okay.
5 minutos. 5 minutes.
And I'm like, it's not okay. You said that we need to build a landing out of wood by hand, and the show is tomorrow. It's not okay. We need to start doing something.
Yeah, we should probably get this going.
Yeah, dude.
I actually have a show coming up in Mexico in 2 weeks, and haven't been there in a little while, but they're like, oh, what bike you ride? You can get an electric one down there, can you? Like, no. I was like, well, how about a YZ250? Because that's like what I've been riding for the last year and a half. Like, we'll try. No YZ250s. Like, we've literally made it past the point where you could actually get 2 strokes.
Oh, in those countries.
Yeah, so which was funny because I kept the reason why I still had all my YZ 250 parts was because when I switched to 450s, they couldn't get the 450s in those countries, so I just had all the parts.
Right.
Well, So I have an abundance. Like I have a storage unit that literally has a freestyle setup for every bike I've ridden in probably like the last 10 years. Like I have airboxes and seats for multiple versions of KX450s,
Nice.
suspension, stabilizers. Me for a show and I'm ready to go for it. They're like, so they can't give me a YZ250. I was like, what about a KX450? Like that's pretty standard. I can ride literally from a 12 to an 18 because I have different airboxes, 2 different seats, plastics, suspension. Nope. I was like, what can you get? Like,
Yeah.
finally just came down like YZ450 and I'm all, I'll take a set of handlebars and I got a friend who has one. Maybe I can borrow some suspension.
I went to
Call it good.
I went to Ecuador and rode a YZ250 two-stroke, which I was riding at the time, but I was lazy, and I was just like, I'm just gonna bring my number plates and a seat, and that's literally the only things I brought. And I was like, how bad can handlebars be? Yo, they can be
Bad.
Roger DeCoster bad. Like I'm like, where did these bars come from? Are these vintage bars? Like, what the fuck? How do you have bars that are this wide and low? And they were swept back real far. Like, I literally couldn't even, I tried to do a sidewinder and I couldn't get my hands off the way that the bars, like, come back. Like, I couldn't even get it out of the bars. And the thing ran like it was underwater. It was like, and I had to flip it. I didn't bring any suspension, so it's just some clapped out stock suspension, so it's super fucking soft. I just ran the clickers all the way in, rebound and compression, and
Which does nothing on blown out suspension.
well, it's better than not being just ran all the way in. At least it kicks you a little bit slower
Yeah.
after it's hit metal to metal.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes ting. Brrr.
Those are the fun ones.
But I made it happen. So then after that, I stayed there for a week on vacation, and then somebody actually is like, "Hey, I got this race. I want you to jump at this race." So I got $500 to jump at the. Well, I was supposed to get $500 to jump at this race, and then he's like, Don't worry, there's big jumps on the track." So then I ride the 450 I'm supposed to ride like a day before, and the suspension on that thing is clapped, and I think it was like enduro suspension. And he's like, here's the jump, and it's like some 90-foot double in the middle of the track, like with a roller before it or something, or maybe this little double before it. And like the A-class guys, there were only 3 of them jumping it, and they were just barely making it over. And I'm like, these dudes race all the time. They on their own race bikes, they could barely make it over the jump. I'm like, I'm not even jumping that on this thing. If I don't time that right, I'm just gonna explode on the landing. 1, 2, it doesn't make any sense because I'm not going to be able to do any tricks on the thing going 100 miles an hour off of it. So then I just raced the vet class, and I won. Actually, so the guy that had won it the year before was like factory Yamaha, and they kept going, hey, like he'll let you ride his bike to practice, and I got food poisoning. And I'm like, why am I going to practice? I have food poisoning. I've been throwing up all day. I'm like, why am I going to practice on some motorcycle that I'm not even going to race on in like 2 days? I'm like, I'm just going to hang out today. So that guy got worried that I was some kind of fucking, like factory assassin or something. So he's just like, he ended up not racing the race. And then I beat everybody else, but... So I'm Ecuador vet champion from like 2016 or 14. We'll just say that. That's a lie. But yeah, it's a lie, but
where do I sign up?
Yeah. No, I'm in. That's what I was thinking. We jumped at the Chinese nationals as well. And I'm like, listen, Very easily top 3 guy there. Like, I'll go to China and be a factory racer.
That sounds awesome. We actually tried to go when we were over in China like a year and a half, 2 years ago, or whatever it was. We were like trying to look and see where the races were because, I mean,
Middle of
I took
nowhere.
Eric Swan over there. Who, yeah, he's literally the plus 30 national champion. Won all 3 motos at Loretta's. We're like, dude, let's go over there and race the. Let's go race the national championship over there. We got 3 brand new 2016 Cowies. Like, we're gonna do some damage over here. It'll be fun. But I don't think we missed the racing season. They're all super far. I don't think they wanted us doing that to begin with.
No, because you just would have waxed everyone's ass. Like, I'm pretty much like, the first guy is going to be a handful. I'm like, but I'm pretty sure. Because, okay, 1 and 2 in the A class were on like Hondas, there were Kawasaki's, and the rest were on those Chinese gas station 450s. I'm not shitting you. And the whole time they're riding them around, I'm like, don't jump that. The frame's gonna break in half. Like, don't do it. And their tracks, their tracks. There was like, so the straightaway is like, I don't know, 50 yards, let's say, and there's like a 60-foot double right before the corner. Like, so you have like 40 yards to just run at this double, and then it's like a 50 or 60-foot double, and then you land, and then there's just a big bowl turn. And every straightaway was set up like that. And I'm like, who the fuck built this track? Like, have they never watched any other type of motocross shit ever?
Just full sprint and just like the scariest double into a corner.
To just brake, just stand on your brakes and downshift twice, and then just engine brake off it. And they only use excavators. Did they do that while you were there? Groom the landing with the excavator?
That happened, but it just reminded me of like a lot of the stuff I've done in Asia where excavators were a luxury, and it's usually just a whole bunch of people with rice brooms and shovels made out of things that you've never seen before.
Well, that was Mexico. You ever done that I'm sure that you have done that motorcycle show in Mexico City, where they bring in.
Oh yeah, with like the world's mellowest landing.
Well, so does the landing? Do they have plywood cut out in the contour of the landing with rebar run through it? With rebar run in the middle, and then they wire around the end around the plywood, and then they fill it in the center with dirt with their wheelbarrows.
Mm-hmm.
And then every time you ride and you pull the dirt off of the landing down into the concrete, as soon as you get done, they come out with their tree branches tied together as brooms, and they sweep it back up onto the landing.
Oh yeah, same one for sure.
Yeah. and then when you get a divot in the safety of the landing, right, and they need to get that dirt all the way back up top, they sweep it up with their sticks, and then they shovel it into the wheelbarrow, and then there's a rope and there's a guy at the top of the landing, and the guy pushes it up the landing, and the guy pulls it up with the rope.
I think that within the last like probably 3 or 4 years, they just started doing all ramp to ramp.
Man.
Yeah, things in Mexico have gotten a lot better. There's like actually multiple like ramp to ramps and quite a few people who actually shred down there these days. So
well,
it's gotten a lot better than the good old days.
Hartman and I did that one, and we met Pedro Gonzalez while we were there.
Very nice. I've done top ends in I had a YZ250 down there. I did a top end in it, and when I pulled it off, it literally looked like someone just poured sand in the head. It was what was left of the Nicosil. I actually thought might have been detrimental, so I just got sandpaper and sanded the entire cylinder smooth and put a new piston and ring in it. And the thing ran titties for about 3/4 of the show, and then by like my final run, every time I hit the ramp, I just had to go a little faster and a little faster. And then by the very last like 3 jumps of the show, I was just wide open. And like the last 3 jumps of the show are obviously like flip tricks, and that's like when I was doing like super flips, and I'm doing just second gear pin KOD flips on this bike that I knew
Was about to
that
implode.
there really was, yeah, there's nothing left of it. And I was so thankful to be done with that show when it was over. Like, oh man, it was pretty bad. And it was the really crappy part is it was the cleanest looking bike. It just happened to go through like, you know, a full national at Southwick with no air filter before I got there.
What was it?
Just a YZ250 back in probably like 08.
Yeah, but those things, all the there's one I don't, but all the rest of my 250s, I basically had to buy new cylinders because just what you were saying. Eventually, the Nicosil starts to, you get a hole in it, in the cylinder, and then it just starts to flake off after that.
This literally just didn't have any. It just had grooves in it. Like, they're like, oh, it has a brand new top end. I was like, yeah, because someone clearly blew it up and just thought it might be a good idea to put a new piston and ring in it. Like, they didn't do anything to the cylinder.
Right.
I was just sanding grooves out of it. I was like, can we get a new one of these? Oh, no.
Yeah. No.
Pedro's got a new ring. Put that in it. All right. Well, see how this goes.
You can't get anything. I was in Colombia one time and so we're at this house they rented for us, and there's a track like quarter mile down the road. So they're like, we put all of our stuff on the bikes, and we're like, we're going to ride down to this track and do a couple laps, just feel them out. And on my way a quarter mile down the road, my bike shut off 3 times. And as soon as I pulled the kicker out and kicked it, it would fire right back up. And I'm like, this thing's got, I'm like, I'm not riding this. Why? I'm like, it has some kind of electrical issue. Like, it just shuts off for no reason. Why do you say that? Well, I said, because it shuts off for no reason. And then first kick, it will fire back up. I'm like, no way in hell am I going to jump this thing. My worst fear right now is a motorcycle cutting out on me as I'm pulling for a backflip. I'm like, it's not happening. So then I rode some fucking Suzuki that they had there. I didn't have any suspension for anything. You know, it was just stock as hell. Just some random Colombian dude that had been riding the piss out of it. So that thing didn't run worth shit. With that 62 octane fuel that they have down there, at like 12,000 feet. I realized, I went there a bunch of times, and I realized after, we only jumped like 64 feet ever, because they would always measured it in meters, and I'm like, I don't understand what that is, but it's second gear all you've got. And I just found out after like 9 times of going that it was like 64 feet, and that was all second gear had down there.
Pretty much, like, especially Bogota. Bogota's like, shoot, I don't remember. It's high. It's like 8,000 feet or something, and luckily they have pretty poppy ramps, but same thing. It's like, I think the biggest we ever jumped, I went down there with Nate Adams, Adam Jones, Bartram. Like, we did like a pretty big show down there this one time. And I think the ramps were like 68, and that was like
everything it had.
Go figure, like, of all people, I didn't even get a bike. Like, one didn't show up. Everyone else built their bikes, road practice, did the whole deal. Like, just standing there, like, okay, what should I do? They're like, we'll ride his bike. And I'm like, no, I'm good. Like, or whatever, like, 97 KTM 250 you guys has got sitting over there. I'm not riding that either. So they finally got me a bike. Like, practice was already over. I built the thing, and I'm like, ask Adam, he's like, dude, you gotta hit him hard. Like, how hard? Because, like, everyone else pushed him forward and moved him back because, like, the bikes were so slow. And I was like, cool. Like, I'm already late for the show. Just finished my bike. Like, here we go. Like, go see what happens. Same shit. It's just 67 feet. Just hit it as fast as you can.
Well, that's what Hartman's like at that show in Mexico City. He goes, do you want to start him in, like, just to drop him? And I was like, we rode the bikes around a little bit. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. Let's just push it in. So we push it in. And I literally ride at the thing and I waited till the bottom of the ramp and just got into it. And it just didn't do anything. It was just, it was like, bah. Even when I stabbed it, it just stayed at the same pitch. And I just faced the fuck out of it. Like I barely got my front wheel over the top of the, like, the back knuckle of the landing. And, I'm like, thank God we didn't set that thing at 70. I for sure would have landed 10 feet, like from the top of the landing into the backside, which was plywood on that thing. But we ended up getting it back to like, I don't even know, 60, same thing, 68. And it's a concrete floor. And I mean, we're taking like 110-foot run at 68 feet and just wrapped out in second everything it had. Luckily, Greg was flipping that one. I didn't have to worry about that.
Yeah, I've done that one with Greg before, and I remember I went back like the second, or not. I've actually been. If it's the same show, I've done it quite a few years, but I went back one time, and there was like when it was ramp to ramp, and I think I was like, it's. I remember the bikes are like, because it's up in the highlands, so it's even above Mexico City, and it's like bikes run real bad. I think I was like, let's just set it at like 72. I'm not going 75. Like, bikes won't even make it on a brand new YZ450. And I hit it and hit it in road practice. And I think the last time I went there, I was with Loza. And he was on a YZ250 at the time. He's like, how do you hit it? And I was like, as fast as I can. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, he's like, you're on a 450. I'm on a YZ250. He's like, I'm like, yeah, no, just literally. I'll like, go as fast as you can. You'll be fine. Go as fast as you can and you'll grease it. He's like, well, you're on a 450 though. I was like, I know, I hit it as fast as I can. You'll go the same. Like, you can literally only hit the ramp so fast without just buckling when you hit it.
Go what you think is too fast, and you'll be all right. Because your motorcycle's not going to accelerate anymore when you get to the end.
Yeah, no, it's not going to do anything.
It's just going to keep, no matter how much you turn the throttle, it's just going to continue at the same RPM.
You hit 75 feet in Mexico City exactly how you hit a 90-foot dirt and at sea level. You just go as fast as you can in second gear and you grease it.
It's perfect.
Yeah, no, it is literally perfect. You just have to know that. If you go into it without knowing that, it might not work out so hot.
And you can't wait and then just power on. You just need to carry all your momentum into it.
Yeah, no, you can't. There is no waiting and powering on anything. You go into it as fast as you possibly can without buckling. You hit it and then pin it.
Just hope the ramp is not super poppy.
Yeah. But no, that's the cool thing about this electric thing I'm riding, dude. I could take it right there and hit it at 75 feet and it's same.
That is good.
I know, it actually kind of weirds me out a little bit thinking about it. Knowing how bad they are at other altitudes, you just be like, oh no, she's fine.
Yeah.
Put it in whatever, I'm good.
Science.
Yeah.
It's science. It's a science bike. Wacker riding a science bike.
They're smarter than me, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
like learn all kinds of new things.
You're learning new things from the electric bike.
Well, I need to. I need to like go to college and like learn electricity or something.
No.
There's no more jetting. No more top ends.
No. See, you are what you are, and you just better ride that electric bike.
Yeah, I like knowing how they work too. It's fun. I'm gonna ride the hell out of it too, though.
Do they not tell you stuff, and you're just like, say what? Ohms? What?
No, I don't know. I'm just trying to learn more about it because I want to know, all the differences, and I get asked a lot of questions, so I don't really have that many answers. It's good to have a better understanding of how everything works, and definitely wouldn't be a bad thing.
For sure. The most profound thing I ever heard you say was, good times are expensive.
Were we drunk?
Most likely.
Yeah, probably. That's a
We-
pretty standard quote for me, especially especially if I've had a couple beers.
We may have been at
But
that
it is the
no-ho party. I don't know.
Probably you were trying to get in a limo outside of it or something.
Well,
Yeah, that is the truth, though.
that is the truth. And then somebody said no, which is also true. But
I mean, you can have good times without it being expensive, but it's not gonna be dirtbags.
or parties. At least not parties at bars.
Well, there is. It doesn't exist anymore, but the Scott Rattler party on a budget.
It's a
Used to be
really
a YouTube tutorial.
it's a shame that the Rattler way of life has died out.
I mean, there's some people keeping it going. There's definitely some people keeping it going. It will exist in the hearts of many.
Do you still have all your Louis Vuitton stuff? Because at one time you were riding around in a van or living in a van with more Louis Vuitton suits and garments in it than the vehicle was worth.
I mean, pretty standard. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm definitely don't have as much as I used to, and it's definitely tamed down, but I still have the original amount, and it's kind of the same in the trailer.
I got a Louis Vuitton hanging garment bag that I'd like to sell. Are you interested in it? It's only like $1,500.
I've probably looked at it and wanted it before, but
It's badass. I'll send you pictures.
I try it. Send me a picture of it.
All right.
Oh man.
You could show up, dude. That
was the good old days.
If I didn't need $1,500, I would totally keep it because it's so obnoxious. Like if you just show up with this huge shoulder strap bag with it's like 24 inches by 24 inches, and that's just one side. So then it opens up, and it's got a hand.
Open to unleash your suits.
Yeah, exactly. So you could just hang the whole bag up and just have your suits hung inside of it. It's got another separate compartment for your shoes at the bottom. Another bag inside for like your t-shirts or whatever, underwear. Like it's totally you. It's definitely Wacker approved.
It sounds pretty baller. It sounds like it would look sweet hanging up in the van.
It would look sweet you walking around with it over your shoulder.
Nah, I just like to have it subtle and hidden in the corner.
No, you don't. You want it to be. This is so obnoxiously Louis Vuitton. You're not gonna be able to stay away from it.
No, my stuff's still not obnoxious. Like obnoxiously.
You're gonna be like, I'm gonna put papers in this. I'm gonna put papers in this and go into meetings like this is my briefcase. You gotta unfold it on the whole table. It's like 6 feet long. You have to lay it down and unfold it on the whole table and just take your stuff out. Listen, you're getting that deal. You show up with a 6-foot Louis Vuitton bag, all right, and take your papers out of it on the table. You're getting that deal. I don't give a fuck what you went in for.
It doesn't matter what it is. You're just like, I'm here for business.
You could be at the wrong meeting. They'll give it to you.
They're just like, I don't know what you're selling, but I'm buying.
They're like, what's an Alta? Where you're hired. You're like, no, I was talking about the new No? Okay. What do we do here?
What are we doing now?
What are we doing?
On the box.
What does this work? Let's go. Let's get it. Ah, shit. All right. Oh, you're probably not ready for bed. It's early there yet. It's 8 o'clock.
8:11. I might need to get up and get another beer.
It's 11:11 here.
11:11. Make your wish, dude. You wish I buy that suit carrier for
I
me.
wish Wacker would buy that fucking Louis Vuitton bag I got. And somebody would give
Give me a
me
second, I'm grabbing another beer.
an Alta.
That's a good wish. I wish that one was.
Did you have to buy your Alta?
I'm on a loaner program. I'm basically at this point.
You're sponsored. You're an Alta factory rider. For people on audio, he said not officially. And then I didn't hear the rest of it. I don't know who he's talking to. I just was watching the Yankees game, which they lost by 1. Yankees, not the Yankees. Fuck the Yankees. The Rangers. Nick apparently went to sleep with his kids. Wacker said he was going to get a beer, but now he's in the other room talking. And since Nick's not here, I can't go for a pee break or go to make another drink, so I'm just going to end up drinking straight tequila. Which sounds like I'll end up taking a bunch of Rhino Power electrolytes so that I'm not hungover in the morning. Wacker, where the fuck are you?
Looking for a beer, man. Where are you?
He's making room in his closet for that Louis Vuitton garment bag. That's what he's doing.
I'm back.
That's what he's doing. You got room in your closet now?
I tried to make some room.
I knew that's what you were doing.
Grab the beer. Forgot the bottle opener.
Just get yourself a lighter, bruh.
I don't even have one of those handy.
God.
So look, check. I got this bottle opener. I bought it online from Ukraine. It's a keychain.
Nice.
But if you know.
Does it flip open so you can assault your
Handmade.
attacker? It's a
I don't know
little...
what you're gonna do with it other than like. I open packages with it. It's really sweet. It's sharp as hell.
So when he opened up his...
You never know when you're gonna need a blade.
When he opened up his bottle thing, it looked like a little, like a, what would that be? Like a cleaver type of
Shake.
thing? It looked like a mini
Basically.
cleaver.
It is, dude. It is super sharp.
And it's super sharp. Where'd you get it? Turkey? Hungary?
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Marie.
I don't know. I found it online. They make like these custom leather goods and handmade blades, and I was like, I need a bottle opener. That's cool.
You're like, I need both. Custom leather goods and a handmade blade. Send it to me. Take my money. Did you say
See,
that?
If that was a Louis Vuitton one, it would have been like $900. It
And
would
you
have been pointless.
and you would have just, you wouldn't even have put in your bank information. You just would have sent them a message that said, take my money.
Probably.
What-
Not these days.
You went to China, right? Did you go and buy yourself some fake Louis Vuitton? Because I bought a fake Louis Vuitton belt and matching wallet when I was there for like $100.
No, like I don't know, man. I have this thing. I can't do the fake stuff. Don't own any.
Yeah, but in China, it's good fake stuff. And
It doesn't count to me.
and listen, in the United States, I agree with you, but in China, I say you just buy the fake good stuff, because then you're just helping out all those poor people. helping them
Did
buy
you
rice.
leave it when you leave? Do you pass it on? Do you give them? Do you give
No,
them
I brought it back here, and the only place that anybody ever commented about my shit was New Jersey. The whole rest of the country couldn't give a shit that I had a Louis Vuitton belt on other than New Jersey. And then everybody's like,
That would make sense.
sick belt. That's awesome. Look at that. And I'm like, it's fake as fuck.
Yeah. I don't know. We bought when we went to China. We bought scooters. We bought 3 of them, and then at the end of our trip, we just gave them all away to the locals.
When we went to Alaska, we ended up buying a rental minivan. That was only because we put a fist-sized hole in the transmission pan.
How'd that happen?
I was in the back, so I don't exactly know, but I know that somebody said, should I do a donut? And the passenger said, yeah, do a donut. And then we were kind of moshing in the back, and then the next thing I know, we hit something. And then we drove back to the hotel, which was only like a parking lot over. And we were like, okay, the story is, because he hit something with the bumper, and he's like, the story is we went to back out of this parking spot, and there was a pole there, and we caught it with the bumper. So he comes in, and we give him this story, and he goes to this other room, and they give him the same story. Maybe he went to that room first, and then he came into our room. We gave him the same story, and he goes, listen, the other room told me the same shit. He goes, hitting a pole backing out of a spot does not make a fist-sized hole in the oil pan. And we were like, what? And he's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, there's a fucking trail of oil that comes out of the parking lot next door where you guys ran over like an 8-inch curb. And I was like, so apparently we hit the curve, and then it just started dumping oil, and there was just a trail out into the street and then like into the parking lot where our hotel was. So they clearly knew what had happened. Our story,
Right back to it.
our story, we had no idea that the oil had leaked out and made a little trail, you know. We thought we had our
Not even a drop.
no, we thought I had our tracks covered. We're like, everybody's got the same story. Backed out of the spot, hit a pole. We're good.
Yeah, we backed over this spot, over that curve.
Yeah. No, we tried to spin a donut.
In reverse.
We tried to spin a donut, hit a wall, and ran over a curb. Is more like it, and then just drove back. So we're in Fairbanks, Alaska. We rented this. Well, we didn't rent. The promoters rented this van in Anchorage, which is 8 hours away. So we had to pay for somebody to drive another minivan the 8 hours on a trailer, drop it off, grab the broken down minivan, and then tow it all the way back. And then put a new transmission or motor in it, or whatever the fuck we blew the oil pan off of. So that was, most of us lost most of our money from that trip on that deal. But it was a good trip. It was still fun.
I feel pretty fortunate that I haven't had an experience quite like that at any of my shows, because I've heard of more than a few.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, it was like, I don't know, $3,500 or something, but like, I don't know, 5 of us chipped in on it or something like that. So it was still, you know, $500-600 a piece or something like that. The person that was actually driving the van paid like more. But yeah, I think I chipped in like $600. I wasn't even doing anything. I was moshing in the back seat with somebody else, and next thing I knew, you know, we blew the thing up.
Well, you know that it went wrong when you were moshing in the back seat.
No,
Might have been a sign.
no, that's the sign of how right it went. How good the night was.
That
There was
was
no
the good
reason
part.
for us to stop off in that parking lot and try to do a donut, okay? Because we drove from a bar like further down the road. I don't know why we pulled in. Maybe he pulled in the wrong parking lot by accident and then was just like, we're gonna do a quick Yui. Hold on. I'm not
I
sure.
was gonna say, how do you know it was a donut? It just wasn't a really fast U-turn.
It might have been, but I do remember hearing, should I do a donut? And then the person in the passenger seat said, yeah. And then that's how we all got roped in to paying for this vehicle, because one other person that was not us said yes.
Oh man.
Whatever,
I
good
feel like
times.
I've been in situations similar to that.
Yeah, Hartman knocked himself out there. He went to do a rock solid, and it was like the landings were sandy, and he G'd out and maybe tried to do. I'm pretty sure he just missed a hand coming back. Ended up knocking himself out, and then asked us the same 5 questions for the next like fucking 3 hours, and it was like, "Do I have to ride tonight?" And we're like, "No, you knocked yourself out." And then he'd go, "What trick was I doing?" And then we'd tell him, "You did a rock solid." And then he'd ask something else. Is so and so mad? And then, so then eventually we just started telling it. He go, "What trick was I doing?" It's when he was learning flips. So we're like, "Dude, you went for a fucking flip and you got stuck." And he's like, "No way!" Like, "Yeah, dude, you almost had it. You just rode your nose down." And eventually, finally, Steve Wagner is like, you got to write down their answers to their questions on a piece of paper or something and give it to them. So that's finally what we did. And then, have you ever done that to someone?
I haven't. I haven't actually. It's been a long time since I've been in a situation like that. Like, luckily.
If somebody keeps repeating the same, like, whatever, 5 or 6 questions over to you, you
Write them down and give them the flashcards.
write down the
Here you go,
answers.
bud.
Yeah, because they go, because you know, every time that that same thought comes into their head, it's like a groundbreaking fucking thought. You know what I mean? They go, what was what was I doing? You know? And so if you write it
Yeah.
down and they go, and you go, look at the paper, and the answer is already there, they're like, how did you know? Like the first couple of times is like, are you a witch? What is, how did you know this? What is wrong with you? And then eventually they go, oh, fuck. I've been asking this same question, haven't I? You can actually watch them clip back in. They're like, I've been asking this shit, haven't I? Yeah.
That's like. Hartman's been there a few times, and as we all have. But like, I got to the point where like, I remember really definitely like the last really big concussion I had that same thing was like, okay, I would do the same thing. You get that awe moment, and you go to like ask the question, and I'd be like, I know I just already asked that question.
Yeah.
And I just stopped. Like, I just had to, every time I went to go ask a question, I would just stop. I'm like, it's not gonna matter. I'm gonna ask the same thing in 2 more minutes and not know where I'm at. So
That's an
I just stopped
interesting.
talking and just,
That's an interesting spot to be in, where you realize that was going on, though.
yeah, that was like, it was weird because sometimes, like, you know, normally you're so dingy you don't get to realize that. But I was out in Beaumont and I was with Chuck and a bunch of random people, and we were like, this would have been a couple years after like I'd been out there for a while, and like we went to go show a bunch of people around, and I weeded myself on a jump, like first jump of the day, and I'd realized like it wasn't super bad, but it was bad enough to where like I got up and I didn't even know where we were at. Like I was asking them what jump I crashed on, like all the same stuff.
Right.
It was like, I should have known. I've been there a million times and like all the same stuff. And I like knew I was kind of jacked up, but I was like, yeah, like I don't want to ruin everyone's day. Because we were deep trail ride in. I was like, I'll just cruise around and like just it's just a trail ride. I'm not gonna ride or jump anything. And I found myself coming up to jumps, and I would be like, I remember asking like, hey, what jump is this? And like Chuck was like, dude, we were here yesterday. Like, what are you talking about? And at that point, I was just like, I'm just not gonna say anything anymore. I'm just gonna ride around. But just being in that la la land and actually still riding and still like, not like I was out like jumping anything, but just riding the trails and cruising with everybody and watching and like just having no idea what's going on. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But I forced myself to just not ask the questions because you'd want to ask like, hey, what happened? What jump is this? What's going on?
Yeah.
Where are we going now? And you're like, and then when you finally do come to and you look back at it all, you're like, oh shoot, like yeah, that literally was just the same stuff that we do every day, like same spot, same jump, same trail, just.
That's interesting. I've never heard anybody that actually was like that, but got it at that time. You know what I mean? Like most people, that's having been through it, seeing other people, whatever. You know what I mean? Because most people don't have the wherewithal to even realize that that's a thing. You know?
I think me at that point, I think I'd been through it enough. Like I wasn't that obviously like I was still able to kind of trail ride and cruise around, so it wasn't that bad. But it was bad enough to where like I would catch myself like asking questions, but kind of already knowing I'm out of it. It's almost like when you're really high and you're all, am I saying that out loud or am I thinking that? It was like that's the comparison.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And like instead of being like, I'm gonna say it out loud or ask that question, you're just like, I'm gonna keep it to myself and just shut up.
Yeah.
So I just kept my mouth shut and cruised and trail ride and had no idea what was going on. I just remember all I really wanted was a whole bunch of ice cream. Did someone else drive me home at the end of the day?
Are you sure you weren't just real high?
A gallon of ice cream from Baskin Robbins.
Are you sure you weren't? Are you sure you weren't just real high? Because that sounds like something that would happen to him. Just be like, I just want Baskin Robbins.
No, actually, like, I mean, I really rarely smoke as it is anyways, but back then, like, I didn't smoke at all, so it wouldn't have made any sense. And I definitely cartwheeled my brains out on, like, 100-foot, like, hill jumping Beaumont, straight to my head.
Yeah, that'll do it.
It will do it.
That will do it. The worst situation like that high I ever had was at X Games one year. And Graham Gustin, we went out, I was with Fisher. And we went out to Graham Gustin's van and smoked. And we're smoking in his van. And then we look over, we're at like in the covered parking at the Staples Center. And we look over, or somebody did, looks over at the truck next to us. And they're like, they're smoking in there too. So, like at the same time. So we end up holding our shit up to them and they end up holding their shit up. We just open the doors to the trucks and get out. And just stand there and smoke with these random people that were in the car next to us. Just stand there and bullshit with them too and smoke. And then the event ends and I'm like calling Chuck. I'm like, hey, I can't get back in. He's like, yeah, the event's over. The building's locked. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. So I didn't know where the fuck I was. He's just like, we're going to the movie after this. Just wait outside. So I just walked over to where he said, and I was just sitting there for like, whatever. You know, Chuck had to say bye to everybody in the building. So I'm over there for like fucking 20 minutes.
Probably like 3 minutes, but to you it felt like you were sitting there just
forever.
4.5 hours.
Just
what's going on.
Just in the middle, over by that theater, right next to the Staples Center, just watching millions of people walk by me. I'm pretty sure the neighbor guy's stuff was laced.
Just knocked down your ass.
Fuck, I didn't know where the hell I was. I was like, Chuck, how do I get back in the building? He's like, you just walked out. I'm like, I know, I don't know. I don't know where I am. I don't know, this door is shut. And he's like, oh, they locked you out. You're done. Oh, no.
Man. That's awesome.
All right,
Good
yo.
old X Games.
Good old X Games. Now you're going to have to go to Australia.
That sounds like fun.
I know it does. Sounds expensive, though.
Yeah.
You know what they
You
say?
go do an electric demo or something.
Good times are expensive.
Good times aren't cheap. Or
Spe-
something like that.
Especially not in Australia. If you live in the United States.
Well, you only live once, right? Isn't that YOLO? That's what the kids say these days? Or is that past already?
No, yeah,
don't know
I
what
think
kids say anymore.
I think the kids
Way too old.
I think the kids still say that, but they don't know about like being Buddhist and stuff where they think that your soul gets reincarnated.
Makes sense. They should read some books.
They should read some fucking books, people. And not on just listen to audio. Although that's me, but whatever. I don't claim to be I listen to books on audio and stuff, but I don't claim to be intellectual, so fuck off.
Whatever you gotta do, man.
There you go. All right. We're going to call it quits because I'm about to pee myself.
Alright, cool. Don't pee yourself.
I will not. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for telling us about the electric motorcycle.
No worries, man.
And we'll do it again. We'll do it again. Hopefully we won't have such a delay. And we got to...
No, we do cross some paths and ride some dirt bikes or something.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds even better. We'll
It's been
keep
a
in...
while. I haven't seen you since Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, that's the building that we could barely get the landing in.
Probably.
Sounds right. I vaguely
Wild
remember
times,
it.
wild times.
We were circus in it.
Circus for sure. Coming out of like double doors and all kinds of weird stuff.
That's how you do it at the circus. You ride
Right.
you just ride amongst everything.
Yep. Inflatable tigers and bounce houses and whatever else you need.
There you go. Just make sure they took the cables down. That's our closing.
I usually double check for this.
That's our closing advice. Make sure the cables are down, people. Don't just tuck yourself.
Yep. Do not. It doesn't work out so hot.
All right, Wacker.
Awesome, man.
Keep in touch with
Cheers,
yourself.
man. Out of here.
Happy
Talk
New
to
Year.
man.
There
Happy
you
New
go.
Year.
Stop recording.
See ya.
You're just gonna have to hang up. Scary.